I'm not here to give you some feel-good quote you can slap on a motivational poster. I'm not selling you cheap comfort or temporary relief. That's not what this is about. This is about the truth. And the truth is, we've all lost our way. We've looked at the wreckage of our lives, the broken dreams, the shattered relationships, and we've called it the end. We've let the bitterness of right now poison any hope we have for the future. We've built walls around our hearts with cynicism. We've marched ourselves straight into a prison of our own despair. But I'm telling you right now, this is not the end. The misery you're feeling, it's temporary. It's just the passing of greed, the bitterness of people who fear progress, the fog that's blocking your view of the mountaintop. You're looking at the ground, crying over a seed that got buried, thinking it's dead. But God is looking at the forest that's about to rise. You think you're being punished? No. You're being planted. Don't give yourself over to these toxic thoughts. People who despise you, who try to control you, who tell you what to do, what to think, what to feel. Don't give yourself to these people who treat you like you're nothing, who use you as fuel for their own doubts. You're not nothing. You're not a machine. You're human. You have love in your heart. You don't hate. Only the unloved hate, the unloved and the broken. You have power, real power. The power to create happiness. The power to make this life free and beautiful, to turn it into an incredible adventure. And God has a script for this adventure that's way bigger than the tragedy you think you're living right now. You think because the door is locked that the house is empty? No. The architect is just renovating the room. He's preparing a table right in front of your enemies. He's writing a symphony where all you can hear is noise. So look up. Look up from your pain. The clouds are lifting. The sun is breaking through. We're coming out of the darkness into the light. We're stepping into a new world, a better world, where people will rise above their hate, their greed, their brutality. God has a better plan. A plan that's not meant to harm you, but to give you hope and a future that's more glorious than anything you've ever dared to dream. We're suffering from bad vision, this tragic nearsightedness that convinces us the wall right in front of our face is the end of the world. We look at the wreckage of our plans, we look at the debris of our expectations, and because we can't see over the pile of rubble, we assume there's no horizon left. But this is the great illusion of being human. We judge the entire symphony by one bad note. We judge the masterpiece by the mess on the painter's palette. We're walking around with our eyes on the dirt, crying over seeds that got buried, screaming that they're dead, when really they're just getting ready to burst into a forest. You're crying because a door slammed in your face. You feel the sting, you taste the rejection, but you're blind to the fact that the room you were trying to enter was a prison cell. And the hallway you're standing in, it leads to the palace. We mourn the loss of things that were destroying us. We beg for people to come back who were diminishing us. Why? Because we can only see the comfort of the past while God sees the danger of the future. We're addicted to the familiar, even when the familiar is toxic. We clutch our pennies so tight, terrified to let them go, while God is standing there with a fortune in gold, just waiting for our hands to be empty enough to receive it. But we can't see the gold. We only see the emptiness. We only feel what's lacking. This is the problem with thinking we know everything. We think we know what's best. We think we know the route. We map out our lives on scraps of paper and get angry when reality doesn't match our scribbles. But the map is not the territory. You're standing there in the rain, cursing the storm, not realizing the rain is the only thing saving you from a drought that would have starved your soul. You look at the delay and call it a denial. You look at the silence and call it abandonment. But your vision is too small. It's microscopic when it needs to be wide angle. You're looking at one puzzle piece and hating the jagged edges, hating that it doesn't look like a complete picture. But God is looking at the entire tapestry. He knows exactly where that jagged edge fits. He knows that without that cut, without that break, without that specific and painful shape, the picture stays incomplete. We're children crying over a broken toy, while our Father is building us a kingdom. Yet we sit in the ashes, convinced the sun has set forever, simply because we closed our eyes. We've let cold cynicism enter our very souls. We've let fear and hesitation replace the beating heart of faith. Look at what we've become. We're suspicious of joy. We're terrified of hope. We act like belief is weakness and despair is intelligence. But this is just machinery of doubt. A factory in the mind produces nothing but anxiety and retreat. We've barricaded ourselves behind walls of what if, and it's too late, listening to the grinding noise of logic when we should be listening to the whisper of the divine. The world tells you to be practical, to be realistic, to settle for scraps off the table of life. But this is the voice of the machine. It wants you to function, not flourish. It wants you to be a cog in the wheel of mediocrity. But you're not a machine. You're not a statistic. You're a child of the Creator. Yet you let these thoughts, these cold, calculating machine thoughts, dictate your destiny. You let yesterday's failures build a cage for tomorrow. You look at the delay and see a dead end because the machinery in your head can't calculate a miracle. It can only calculate probability, and God deals in the impossible. We've developed speed, but we've shut ourselves in. Technology gives us abundance, but leaves us wanting. Our knowledge has made us cynical. Our cleverness has made us hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than technology, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness and faith. Without these things, life becomes violent and everything is lost. And so you stand there, frozen by your own doom-scrolling thoughts, convinced that because the numbers don't add up, the dream is over. You're listening to the rhythm of the world, a rhythm of scarcity and competition, and it's deafening you to the rhythm of grace. You're suffering from a hardening of the spirit. You've let the disappointments of the past mechanize your expectations, turning your life into a series of predicted failures instead of an adventure of divine possibilities. You let the critics, these cold, heartless people, tell you that your time has passed, that your mistakes are fatal, that the better plan is a fantasy for fools. But they don't know the power that lives in the human soul when it dares to unplug from this assembly line of despair and plug into the current of the Almighty. Don't let them tell you that you're nothing but dust and chemistry. Don't let them convince you that your life is just a series of random events with no meaning. You're not a biological accident. You're not a cosmic mistake. You are a vessel of the divine. The very breath that spun the galaxies into existence is the same breath filling your lungs right now. You're not a cog in a machine. You're a soul with capacity for the infinite. In the 17th chapter of Luke, it says, "The kingdom of God is within man, not one man or a group of men, but in all men, in you. You carry in your chest a fire that the waters of this world can't extinguish, a light that the darkness of your circumstances can't overcome. The world looks at you and sees a resume, a bank account, a diagnosis, a failure. But God looks at you and sees His own image. He sees a creator. He sees a conqueror. This is why you can't be satisfied with crumbs from the table. This is why your soul is restless in the cage of the ordinary, because you were built for the extraordinary. That restlessness you feel, that ache for something more, that's not dissatisfaction. That's the divine spark screaming to be released. It's proof that you don't belong to the dirt. You belong to the stars. You're not defined by what happens to you. You're defined by what lives within you. And what lives within you is the power to transcend, the power to overcome, the power to turn a prison into a palace and a tragedy into a triumph. You're not cattle to be driven by fear. You're not a victim to be crushed by fate. You're a participant in the divine nature. You have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make it a wonderful adventure. You have the power to create happiness. You have the power to strip away the labels society has slapped on your forehead and reclaim your true name. The plan God has for you isn't a plan for a robot that follows instructions. It's a plan for a son, for a daughter who walks in authority. That spark inside you is the guarantee of the better plan. It's the down payment on your destiny. If you were just a machine, you'd be happy to just function. If you were just an animal, you'd be happy to just survive. But you're miserable in your survival because you were created to thrive. You were created to burn with a holy fire that lights up the darkness. And that fire is waiting, it's pulsing, it's ready to consume the lies that have held you back. We're walking in the mud, staring at our boots, obsessed with the dirt, while the glory of the Almighty is passing by just above our heads. We've become people of the ground, people of the gutter, fighting for scraps in the darkness when there's a banquet set in the light. But I'm telling you, lift your eyes. Lift them from the ledger of your failures. Lift them from the graves of your regrets. The solution isn't down there in the mess of your history. It's up there in the mystery of His will. The storm you're in right now, yeah, it's deafening. Yeah, it's terrifying. It's shaking the very windows of your soul. But the pilot knows the blue sky isn't gone. It's just above the clouds. You can't see the sun, but the sun is there. You can't see the stars, but the stars are there. You've got to have the courage to climb. You've got to have the courage to rise. The better plan requires a better perspective. You can't see the promised land while you're staring at the wilderness. You can't see the sunrise if you refuse to turn your face to the east. We've been told to keep our heads down, to know our place, to accept our lot in life like it's a prison sentence from a cruel judge. But I'm telling you, break the chains of that thinking. Snap the neck of that fear. Look up into the face of the storm and see the hand of God rearranging the atmosphere for your benefit. He's not drowning you, He's washing you, He's not burying you, He's planting you. But you have to look up to see the harvest. The world wants you focused on the impossible, on the barriers, on the walls, on the armies surrounding you. But the servant of Elisha looked up and saw the hills filled with horses and chariots of fire. The reality of heaven is always superior to the reality of earth, but you'll never see it if you don't shift your gaze. You're crying over a closed door while God is opening the roof. You're weeping over a lost job while God is handing you a calling. You're mourning a friendship while God is introducing you to a destiny. But you miss it all. You miss the beauty, you miss the power, you miss the plan, because you're hypnotized by the pain. Look up from your hospital bed. Look up from your bankruptcy. Look up from your loneliness. The help you need isn't coming from the left or the right. It's coming from above. The clouds are lifting. The fog is clearing. We're rising into a new altitude where the air is pure and the vision is clear. The night is crying, but morning is coming. The plan isn't behind you in the shadows. It's right there, hovering over you, just waiting for you to acknowledge the light.